We're just going to the live stream, and I believe that the participants should be able to see us now. Yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome to our latest Mintogo Masterclass session. Today we have James here to talk to us about why we should invest in pensions. James is one of our partner independent financial advisors, financial experts, and he's here essentially just to make everything a little bit clearer, to clarify, to give us all a little bit more education on why we should invest in pensions and what that will mean for us. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be super helpful. I know it's an issue that's top of mind for a lot of our users. So it's very exciting stuff. What I will do is I will pop James's contact information in the chat in this session, so that anyone who wants to ask any further questions or get in contact with James individually after the session, you're more than welcome to do so. And like I say, those will be in the chat. The other way you can reach James is by going to the IFA page on live.mintogo.com. You'll see him there, and all you have to do is just select James as the financial advisor you want to talk to, and fill in a really quick contact form with just like 1 or 2 lines about the topic that you would like to chat about. So like I say, I'll do that now, but for the moment I will hand off over to James, who is going to take us through why we should invest in pensions. All right, thanks very much, James.
Thanks, Anna. Okay, yeah, thanks, Anna. Hopefully everyone can see the first slide. So this has been designed to improve, hopefully, everyone's financial well-being, give you a bit more knowledge about pensions, and really give you more control over your finances, and I guess give you more choice. And that's what life's about, isn't it? Choice. So, so you've got an idea of who I am, who we are. I own Justice Wealth Management, so we do a range of different topics and advice features around investments. Pensions is obviously what we're going to talk about today, tax planning and protection. Good place to start, actually, talking about taking a bit more control over your finances. I don't think Anna actually mentioned, if you have got questions, I do a lot of these around the country to different companies, and it is really useful if these are as interactive as possible. So please chuck your questions in the chat, and I think Anna's going to let me know. So if you have got any questions, no matter how silly you might think it is, please ask it, and then hopefully we'll be able to answer it. The session is ultimately designed for you guys, and the fact I've got the statistic up here that 59% of people don't actually know how much pension savings they have planned for their retirement will give you a good indication that most people are quite a low ebb of what a pension is, why they should be saving into a pension. And that is the first and foremost piece for me, really, as a financial advisor, engaging with my clients and people that I talk to, workers that I talk to, is, you need to know how much money you've initially got to be able to then start to plan for your retirement. And I'm quite passionate about this. As I said, it gives people more choice and ultimately financial freedom. So important for a lot of people. People work for a reason. If you do it to buy a house, provide for your family, have a family. But ultimately, there will be a point, no matter how much you love your job, I'm sure there'll be a point, and a lot of my clients will come to me and say, I'm ready to retire, I want to go part-time. So all the pension retirement planning that I do for my clients, it's all gearing them up to give them more choice, that if they get to 55, 57, 60, and so on, they've just got that choice, that if they want to retire, they can do. And enable people to do that, you need to have some sort of pension pot or some form of income to be able to use in retirement. In the interest of being interactive, as I said, it is good if we can make this as interactive as possible. Bit of a question for people. You don't have to put it in the chat bot, but just have a little think. So this is actually done by Unbiased. To have a comfortable retirement, how much you think you might need per annum. Hopefully that's enough thinking time for everyone. So it's actually about 33,000. So I do tell a lot of clients and that is the average, £33,000 per annum when you get to retirement. To have a comfortable retirement, that's how much you need. But then I completely throw that out the window and I say, actually, it is personal. So it's worth starting to think about, even if you're young. So even if some of the people on here in their 20s, 30s, You don't want to leave it too late. So start having to think about, what does retirement look like for you? What would you like to do in retirement? And then over the months, years, as you're thinking about that, you will start to form an opinion of how much you might need per month. But it's a really good start for 10. Just have a think about how much you might need on a monthly basis, on an annual basis. So in order to answer the question, why should you do a pension? The main place I'm going to start is actually the benefits. And what I've done over the years, I've been a financial advisor. I really jotted down the things that I engage with people when I say, and then people turn around and say to me, "Oh, I didn't realise." So clearly, when it's the benefits which form part of that. But when I tell people, "Oh, did you know this about pensions?" they say, "I didn't realise." So that's what I thought would be quite a good thing to share with you guys and ladies today. First one, which some of you may or not know about, is the tax relief on contributions. So pensions is one of the best vehicles to save for your future. And it's because you get a significant amount of tax relief on contributions. As a financial advisor, it's one of the core most things I would always advise people to do, because you're going to get that tax relief. And hopefully this table illustrates that. So there might be a broad range of people on this call. Everyone's working, so I'm assuming most people are going to be a minimum of a basic rate taxpayer. But you can see there, basic rate taxpayer, you'd be paying 20% in your tax. Higher rate, you'd be paying 40%. And if you're an additional rate, if fortunate enough to earn over 150,000 a year, you'll be on 45. Higher rate taxpayer is 50,000 and above. If you gave me, or you put into your pension through your work, £20,000, it just shows you there on the third column the tax relief you'll get. So on £20,000, if you were to give me £20,000 from your savings, immediately what would go into your pension is £5,000. So you put it with me, or you put it with your employer. You put £20,000. The next day you wake up, you look on your online screen to see how much is in your pension. You've got an additional £5,000 immediately. It gets even better for higher rates. It's not great being higher rate taxpayer because you're paying a lot more tax, but it does mean you're earning more money. So as you can see, when you're getting a 40% tax relief, you have an extra £13,000 of tax relief. An additional rate, then you've got 16,000. So you can see there, even when you compare that to things like ISAs, with an ISA, if you're basic rate taxpayer, you've paid your 20% tax, haven't you? Because you get your gross pay of whatever it is, say 30,000. You'll get that money, but you'll have paid on a lot of that 20% tax. So if you put it into an ISA, you've already got to make back 20% before you even stand still when you compare it to a pension. The other thing I get asked sometimes is, well, pensions are locked away. Now, that is true to a degree. So you are restricted. You don't get something for nothing. There's always pros and cons with doing anything in life, not just investments. But I would say since 2015, pensions have become so much more flexible. So gone are the days that you have to buy an annuity. We have only got half an hour, so I won't explain what an annuity is. But with pension freedoms that came in, what that essentially means is you have access to your whole pot. So quick example, if you've got when you get to retirement, which is 55 at the moment, it is going up to 57 in 2028. You get to 57 and you have a financial advisor, or you approach me, or you go to your workplace pension and you say, look, I want to access my £500,000. You can actually access the whole amount if you want to. So you could actually take out, currently at 55, you could turn 55 and say, I want to take out my whole £500,000. And you're perfectly obliged to do that. You're perfectly allowed to do that. There's no restrictions on taking it out. What happens then is you'd have, out of that £500,000, you'd have 25% as a tax-free lump sum. So even better, right? So you get the benefits at the beginning. So you get the tax relief at the beginning. And then on the way out, when you've saved all that money, it's grown by different investments. You've got 25% as a tax-free lump sum. And then the rest will be taxed as if it was an income. So it's known as marginal rate, but it's essentially as if it were an income. So what you would do working with a financial advisor or by yourself, you'd actually work out how much you need. And that goes back to the previous slides about how much would you need per annum. And then you just take out what you need. Because clearly, if you took out £500,000 as an income in 1 year, you're effectively going to be an additional rate taxpayer, and you're going to pay 45% tax on the majority of it. So it's just not a sensible thing to do. But the good news is it's all about financial freedom. It's all about choice. If you wanted to do that, you could do. And I do find some clients that might take a lot out in the first couple of years when they retire, because they might want to do a round the world cruise, spend a lot of time with their family, really enjoying the start of retirement. and then as the years go on, they would do less and less. So you've got that flexibility to say 1 year I want 30,000 a year, the next year I only want 20, 1 year I might only want 10. So there's a lot of freedom around pensions these days. The other thing I get asked sometimes, or I convey to people, is around flexibility of investing. So I sometimes hear people say, well, my pension didn't do very well. Pension isn't actually an investment, it's just the tax wrapper, and I've described those benefits already. The investments, there's thousands of different investments you can do within a pension. And the great thing about pensions is the flexibility of the different investments. So you might have heard some people like investing in commercial property. So you can have some of it in things like stocks and shares and other types of investments, but you could actually go off and do your own investments. You could buy a commercial premises, you could buy a warehouse, you could buy a pub, you could buy a hotel. Airbnb is a bit of a grey area at the moment. I'm sure that will find itself out with the government and policy. Technically, you can do Airbnb, but it is a little bit of a grey area at the moment. But ultimately, you do have the flexibility of buying different types of assets. You don't just have to go with the box standard stocks and shares if you don't want to, or if you think of yourself as a bit of an entrepreneur. State pension, just an FYI. Hopefully, it will be around when we all retire, but don't count on that. State pension at the moment is £102 per month. It is going up in April. One of the main things on there is if you've got some mums on the call and you've come back to work, you need 35 qualifying years, and that's paying national insurance. So you need 35 qualifying years to get the full state pension. If you have less, then you just get it reduced slightly. But what you can do is go and fill out a BR, it's BR19, which will tell you how many years and how much state pension you'll get. As I said at the beginning with this, it's only half an hour, so I'm not expecting everyone to be a guru with pensions at the end of this. It's really just to get your juices flowing with pensions, and hopefully then go away and do a bit of your own research, or you can engage with a financial advisor, as Anna said, someone like myself, to speak to about it, or your specific example. Pension consolidation, we're actually doing another talk. So there's going to be, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, there's going to be me again next month doing another talk. And I think the next one is about pension consolidation. It's a huge thing at the moment. Pension B all over the radio, but it is quite a difficult process and a long process to do. And sometimes it's not always the right thing to consolidate your pension. So I would put a word of warning on that. Don't always consolidate, because you might have some really, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, you might have a really good pension that was older that might have some like guaranteed growth rates. So you just need to be really careful with that. But you do have the option to consolidate your pensions if you want one pot. You just need to compare things like charges, the risk that your money is currently taking to get the performance. Another one that people don't realise, when I do pensions for people, it's almost free inheritance tax planning. So if you were to put loads and loads of money in your pension and then you were to pass away before the age of 75, that would get given to your beneficiaries tax-free. So they would get, if you've got, again, £500,000 in your pension pot, they would get that £500,000 completely tax-free if you died before the age of 75. So it actually is quite a good vehicle. And what happens these days with a lot of my clients, if they've got other vehicles that they're generating income from, so some people got buy-to-let properties these days, it's not that attractive, but people have got buy-to-lets. If they've got other incomes or investments to pull levers on to generate an income, a lot of the time people will leave their pensions until the last possible point, because, as I said, it falls outside of your estate. You don't have to pay a financial advisor a percentage to give you advice for inheritance tax plan, and you could have £1 million sitting in your pension, and you wouldn't pay your beneficiaries wouldn't pay any tax on it. It might be more relevant for you, the younger people, if there are younger people on the call in their 20s thinking about buying a property or have got a property and thinking about moving. Mortgage affordability, general rule of thumb is most mortgage companies, if you're paying a sensible amount, like a normal amount, at the moment it's 5 and 3, 8% that most of you will be paying into your pension. As long as you're paying a normal amount into your pension, it doesn't affect affordability, so they won't take it into account. Clearly, if you're earning 30 grand and you're paying 30,000 into your pension from your income, then they will look at that. But generally speaking, if it's a normal sort of standard amount, it does not affect affordability. So your mortgage affordability would not be reduced just because you're paying into a pension, which is nice, isn't it? Just going to touch on this, so child benefit and personal allowance. little bit of a busy slide. Hopefully everyone can see it. This is our first soiree into doing these on this type of presentation. So if you can't see it, put a note on there and we can plan it for next time, that will make it a bit bigger. But if you the child benefit piece, I don't know if you're aware of this, if you've got a child, if you're a couple or by yourself, if any of you are earning £50,000 or more, between 50 and 60,000 you start losing child benefit. So if you've got one child, you'd be allowed to claim £1,100 per year. But if you start earning over 50,000, then you start losing that allowance. And what you can actually do is, by paying into a pension, if you had, let's say you earn £55,000, you would actually lose half of your 1,100 child benefit. If you pay that £5,000 into a pension, as far as HMRC are concerned, you're actually only earning £50,000, so you actually get your child benefit back. So not only are you getting the tax benefit for paying into a pension, you're actually getting money back from the government, which I'm sure everyone loves. Personal allowance. This is quite a biggie if there's any high earners on the call. I work a lot with people that are earning over £100,000, and invariably what I find is with clients, it's very reactive. So I engage with clients at a bad stage. So people should really be working with a financial advisor as soon as possible, really, to be proactive and making sure you're not overpaying on tax, because if you've paid the tax, more often than not, you can't claim it back. So if you start earning over £100,000 a year, and that can be anything, so that can be your bonuses and stuff like that. If you start earning over £100,000 a year, you start losing your personal allowance. And what your personal allowance is, you can see on bullet point 1, you have a personal allowance of £12,570 where you don't pay any tax. So your earnings, you earn £12,000, you wouldn't pay any tax. After that, you start paying your basic rate at 20%. But if you start earning over 100 grand, you would actually start losing your 12,500. So up to when you get to 125, you've lost it completely, which actually means in a tax rate of 60%. So if any of you are earning over 100 grand, you're essentially saying you're happy to pay 60% tax. Whereas if you put that money into a pension, the same principle I said with the child benefit, you're actually reducing your income, or what looks perceived to be your income. So if you were earning 125,000, not only would you get 40% tax relief on that £25,000 that you paid into a pension, you'd also get your personal allowance back, which, like I said, is an effective tax rate of 60% tax relief, which is a win-win. Annual allowance and carry forward. So you are restricted to the amount you can put into your pension. To most of us, that doesn't mean much, because the maximum is 40 grand. Not many of us have got £40,000 laying around every year. But for the clients that I have that do that, or the high net worth ones that do, the good news is that is going up. So it's going up to 60,000. But that can be for some of the people that might not be able to save that much. You might get an inheritance, for example, or you might have some gifting from family members, or you might have some savings. And you could then therefore put some of your savings into a pension, but you are restricted to £40,000 per year, or 100% of your earned income. So a very quick example, you're earning £30,000 a year, the maximum you could put into your pension is £30,000 a year. If you're earning £50,000 a year, the maximum you could put into your pension is the £40,000 a year as of today. You can also do, if you've got children, or there's any older people in here that have got grandchildren, you can do a pension for a child. As soon as they're born, you can technically open a pension, and they also get tax relief. So if you put in 2,880, you'd actually get tax relief up to the, which is the 20%. You get the money that will go in there is 3,600. And then very quickly, carry forward. Again, we've only got half an hour. We've only got 20 minutes left. You can go back up to 3 previous tax years. I won't go into the detail. That is a little bit complicated. If you have got the ability, you've got lots of money to be able to go back 3 tax years to use your pension allowance, I'd suggest to get in touch with a financial advisor to make sure you don't get hit with a tax bill. But you can go back, so you're not just restricted to the 40,000. As long as you've got a pension open in the tax year that you want to go back to. Hopefully that wasn't too wordy for people. So you can go back to, at the moment, 2019-20 tax year. So you could technically put in £160,000 into your pension if you've got it in savings. But again, there's more to it. So I'd suggest you speak to a financial advisor if you want to make use of that. I will pause for any questions. I know pensions are quite dry, so I have put my 2 dogs on there to break up the session. But Conscious we've only got 9 minutes left, actually. I think Anna was going to text me if there's any questions, and I'm assuming there's not so far. Hopefully there are actually people on the call. So we'll move on if there are. But if there are any questions and you're typing at the moment, please continue to type it. I'm more than happy to pause. Again, this is for you guys. It's not for me. So if you've got any specific questions or you don't feel confident, again, you can pick up with me after. My number's going to be on the last slide, and Anna, I think, is going to put it in the chat as well. Compound interest. A lot of clients will talk about this. It's just to give you a very. Oh, I think I might have a question. Have you got a question? Or is this going to be someone else? Oh, nothing yet. Thanks, Anna. A compound interest. It's an interesting one. All this really means is interest on interest. So if you have £1,000 in an investment and you make 10%, £100. So 1,100 will be in your pot. If you then go the next year of investing and you earn another 10%, you're actually going to earn 10% on £1,100. That might not seem like much, but it actually does build up if you invest for, in this example, over 20 years. So you can see with compound, if you do a simple interest where you don't get interest on interest growth, if you do compounded, which is what pensions are essentially there to do, you can see the big difference, right? So by having compounding, your return is amplified massively, which really emphasizes the point of starting early. And it's really illustrated, I think, in the next slide. Yes, it is. The next slide. Does investing early make a difference? This is I think, and hopefully people might agree, is such a powerful slide for investing early. Hopefully everyone can see this, but I will verbalize it as well. And I think just bear with me with it. So all of these three people, so we've got Mo, Leroy, and Rax. All of these three people saved £1,000 a month over a 10-year period. So they did exactly the same thing. They saved a total of 120,000 because £1,000 a month is £12,000. Times that by 10, 120 grand. So they've all put in £120,000 in this example into their pension. All their money grew exactly the same, and they all decided to retire at 65. So all that is exactly the same. The only thing that's different is when they decided to do it. So you've got Mo here, who very fortunate to save £1,000 a month, decided to save for when he was 25 to 35. But he stopped. So he didn't pay anything more in from 35, still saved £120,000 as Leroy did. But Leroy started later. He started from 35 to 45. And then you've got Rax, who started from 45 to 55. Now, when you overlay that with compound interest, because Mo, who saved from 25 to 35, has got another 30 years of compound interest growing at 7% until he retires. Leroy's 10 years later, Rax is 10 years later after that. So this graph, hopefully it's quite powerful, illustrates the big difference. And what I do say, if I do show this to some clients, is you can overlay those three people with yourself, because it's the same pot of money, right? You're saving that same £120,000. Most people save in their retirement a lot later. We've got 6 minutes. Save a lot later. But you can see here, Rax, who saved from 45 to 55, his money actually grew to 373, which is still a good pot. He's only saved £120,000, and in that period of time, it's gone to 373. But I mean, it's quite dramatic, isn't it? 1.4 million just because he saved from 25, same pot of money, 25 to 35. But he had a chance to leave that money growing and growing and growing at 7% for a 30-year period. So it really illustrates the point of saving further. Touch on this, and I've mentioned it earlier. A lot of people think pensions is just, that's the investment, and if pension didn't do well, I won't do another pension again. But I use Nest as a comparable because it's most employers use it as their basic scheme. And then I just compared it against what I do. So just very quickly, you've got a 3-year period with Nest. Some of the pensions that I typically do for clients, looking at a previous 3 years, is almost double. So you just need to be a bit careful. This is to illustrate is be careful where your money's going in. Most people self-identify themselves as medium risk investors, or the employer or the pension scheme will just put people in a medium risk or a low risk fund. Not always the right thing. If you've got a long time to retirement, you can survive the volatility, so you can probably take a little bit more risk. So I think that's quite important. Just be very careful and have a look at where your pension currently is. I think Nest, 99% of people are in one of their schemes. So there's clearly not much choice going on there of people actually actively choosing where they want their money to go. I think I might fall in the time bracket. So when is enough? Really good question, I think, for you to start asking yourselves. And what I mean by that is when is enough enough? When if you start putting money into your pension, like the examples I gave, what pot do you need to have to enjoy retirement? What I'd suggest you do is start thinking about what you would like retirement to look like. I appreciate if you're in your 20s and 30s, you might not be thinking too much about it, but some of my clients definitely are. But if you start thinking about, what age do I want to retire? Do I want to go part-time fully? Do I want to go on holidays? Do I want to spend time with my family? How much my general expenses are going to be? And you can think of that as today's money. And again, if you work with a financial advisor, or you can probably do it yourself, then you can extrapolate that to say, well, in 30 years' time, broadly speaking, this is how much I'd need. Now, when I work with clients, it's never a definitive figure. So it's never like, let's work out £25,560. That's how much I'm going to need. It's a broad idea. And clearly there's flex with that. But what I always try and do for my clients is give them choice, right? So you might love your job, but then you might become ill. And then when you're 50s and think, actually, I'm forced to give up work. At least if you've saved into a pension, you've got then the choice to give up work, or you might not like your job that much anymore, or you might really like it, but want to spend time with your family and go part-time. So all of this stuff is really just to give people choice. But to work out how much is enough, the general rule of thumb is a 4% rule. So if you had £500,000 in your pension pot, what generally speaking, most financial advisors would say, you could take 4% of that pension pot per year and live off that income, and your £500,000 would stay exactly the same for the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So you still have the same pot of money in forever, but you're drawing the income. So £500,000, essentially £20,000 per year you'd actually have, and you'd be able to live off of. You can take more, so you could take 5-6%, but you just run the risk you might start eroding the £500,000 or whatever it is. So the general rule of thumb is about 4%, but some people might use 5%. So as long as you stick around the 4 or 5% mark as a lump sum, what you take as an income, you should be okay. I am at the end. It's the first time and I'm within 2 minutes. That's good. So my summary, I guess, would be start thinking about how much is enough. So how much you think you need in retirement and what financial freedom means to you. That's a really important thing, depending where you live. I don't know where the geographic location of everyone. Some areas are more expensive than others. Some of my clients want to go on really big holidays a year. That's what's important to them. Some of my clients have really humble existence and they don't really want for much. But so their how much is enough is a lot lower than someone else's. Some of them want to move abroad, and again, the cost of living abroad is a lot less. So if you get an understanding of what's enough and what financial freedom means to you, it's a really good place to start at. And then you can start contextualizing that into what that pot means, what you'd need as a pot. Make sure you're not losing out on your tax allowances. I see it so many times. It's really frustrating. I've already mentioned about the personal allowance, child benefit. I see so many clients as a reactive thing that they're like, I've just paid all this tax. How can I get away with not paying it? Well, we can't look back on the last bit, but we can plan more forward for you. So hopefully there's a few golden nuggets in there, or leading on to golden nuggets, golden egg. So pensions aren't necessarily the golden egg. They form part of an overall strategy. And what I do with my clients is, I have no idea what legislation changes are going to be in the future. I already showed you earlier, if you remember, pensions are going to go from 55 to 57 in 2028. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? So pensions are such a fundamental part of retirement planning and future planning, but they are part of it. So there are other investment vehicles you can consider. And I think that leads me neatly on to, I'm doing a monthly one of these. So this is the first one around pensions. The next one's about pension consolidation, I think. And then the next month is about tax, and then the last one is about investing. So I'll talk a bit more about different investments you can do. And then go away and either use that information yourself and make some changes, or have a chat with a financial advisor. Clearly, I prefer you to have a chat with me, but you're welcome to go and speak to anybody. But just making sure you get that right advice. So you can see on here my contact details, my email, mobile and landline. So if you've got any specific questions, if you have found that interesting, hopefully you have, then you can come to me directly with specific questions around your circumstances, or ping me an email with questions, and I'm more than happy to have a chat with you to explore what you might be able to do. That is it from me. That's it from me. Literally bang on. question. What if I don't have enough disposable income? So, so the question is, what if I don't have enough disposable income to save into my pension? Well, that is a problem. I guess the only, without looking at your situation, I don't know what you're spending your money on. It's about, someone said to me once, it's about investing in you first. I know that sounds really easy with the cost of living and what's going on at the moment, but I'd probably suggest looking at your incomings and outgoings and see, you might have already done this, but just apologise if you have, looking at what you're spending your money on. So if you are got all these subscriptions and you don't use them as much, like the Apples, the Amazons, people are cutting back on the Skys, gym memberships, or whatever it might be. Clearly you've got to live, right? You've got to enjoy life. But have a look at what your outgoings are, and usually there are savings to be made. And I think it's focusing on paying yourself first, paying into your future first, because of the tax relief, rather than taking it as an income and then spending that income. Typically, I see clients, if they haven't got it to spend, they won't spend it. So if you do your calculations and you've got your fixed costs like your rent, your gas, electric, your food, and all of your money's gone, which will be the case in some people and some more, right? There was some unfortunate, really sad situations at the moment in the country, and your money was all gone. The answer is you're probably not going to be able to pay into your pension yet. But hopefully that situation will change in the future, and then you might have the ability to do that. But that is a good question, and a difficult one to answer. Again, I'm more than happy if you want to engage with me, and I can try and help you navigate that. But yeah, the disposable income up there is a little bit tricky. And is there any more questions at all, or we're going to call it a day? I think I'll let her type quickly. I'm assuming there's not any more questions, but I think that's it. Some of you might drop off because it is 32 minutes past. Just to repeat, she's typing. Just to repeat, there is a few more sessions. So consolidating. So if you've got pensions dotted around here, then everywhere, and you want to know whether it's right to consolidate, I will be giving information about empowering you to do that yourself. A lot of people end up using a financial advisor because it's a little bit tricky, but I will give the information about doing it yourself, the sort of pitfalls and what to look out for. And then the next one, the month after, we are paying too much tax. And then the last one, investing, is a bit of a minefield. And that came from going into a lot of companies talking about pensions, and they're like, and the employees were like, where does the money go? So we're going to do a bit of a session about investing and what that looks like. Thanks so much from Anna as well. Hopefully that was enjoyable for everybody. It was really nice just sharing that information. I really hope it was useful. Feedback's so important. It was the first one, although I do it with other, sort of go out to companies, but it was the first one with sort of Mintigo, in partnership with Mintigo. So if you've got any feedback, negative or positive, please give it to Anna or send an email, and we can make changes for the future. Thanks everybody for your time, and have a lovely Thursday. Thank you.